Test. Yeah, we got it now. I didn't see you yet.
Okay. Test 1, 2. Check. There we go. I'm going to check the levels to make sure we're not too loud in each other's ears, so we can adjust it. Yeah, yeah, just that. Now, try to get as much slack as we can.
Test. Test.
Cool.
Good.
Check 1, 2. Check. Test 1, 2.
Yeah, it sounds good to me.
All right. So look good levels wise on there. We might need to bring it down a little bit.
This isn't the same as Premiere, so.
Yeah. I'm gonna. Okay. Check with that. Bring it, boost it a little bit more. Check 1, 2. Check. Test 1, 2. Check. I think that'll be fine.
We want to mess with the framing a little bit real quick.
Yeah.
Plenty of space this way, but I can't see right field. And should we flip the board and the computer so Duncan can get to the computer easier, or is that too hard to flip those?
I mean, we can. It's just we'll have to get all the wires out of the way. Yeah.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you all so much for being here. I'm going to try to get through this without a lot of emotion. It is truly a dream come true for me to be here today as your new softball coach in Indy, home in Carolina. I've spent many years here before, and there's no place like home. I believe to make a program championship caliber, it really boils down to feeding the right people. Our goal and our vision is to lead this program to championships in the SEC and get the program to Oklahoma City where it belongs.
Should all be good now.
Got it. Are we muted?
It's a cloudy afternoon here at Beckham Field at Carolina Softball Stadium. The rain's held off just long enough for us to finish this third and final game here in this series between the 13th ranked Georgia Bulldogs and the 9th ranked South Carolina Gamecocks. Welcome in everyone to SGTV's broadcast of Gamecock Softball. I'm Ryan Stinson alongside my partner Dakota Morris, and we are glad to be joining you for some Sunday SEC softball. Dakota, both of these teams looking for their first ever SEC series win. Obviously, the Gamecocks went to Norman last week to take on the top-ranked Oklahoma Sooners. Did not get a single game out of that series. Georgia a little bit more lucky as they hosted Tennessee last week and was able to snag a game from that series there in Athens.
Yeah, we talked about that Norman series that you just mentioned against Oklahoma, and though the Gamecocks didn't get a win out of that, they still proved that they could hang in there with the big dogs. You know, 9-10 losses, and then 2-1 loss. It's not a bad loss when you're going up against the 4-time back-to-back national champions.
Absolutely.
Who have kind of had a dynasty the past few years in NCAA softball. So it's a tough. It's sad that we didn't get a win there, but it is nice to show everybody in the country that the Gamecocks are here this year. Ashley Chastain Woodard is bringing a new life to this team, and they're really starting to prove that. And hopefully today we'll be able to get the series win against Georgia to go ahead and solidify our names not only in that regular season play but in SEC season play as well. So
absolutely. This series tied at 1 apiece right now, with Georgia winning the first game on Friday. Gamecocks taking that Saturday game 4-3 in walk-off fashion in 8 innings. As we get started, Jory Hurd will be in the circle for the Gamecocks today. To start out, she's a junior out of Algonquin, Illinois, the only returning pitcher for the Gamecocks, who has had a lot of transfers be brought in to help strengthen this team. Of course, a lot of transfers following Coach Chastain Woodard from Charlotte. And she will face off against the leadoff for Georgia, center fielder Dallas Goodnight, the senior out of Dakota, Georgia. Starts out with an average of .296 on the season. She'll take up to the box, batting left-handed against the right-handed Jory Hurd. As she winds up and takes the first pitch, and it will be called strike one. Goodnight will not make an attempt at this first ball, so we'll begin the count 0-1. Georgia having a lot of scoring success here in the first inning. In the first inning across the season. Hurd's second pitch a bit outside for ball one. They have scored 5+ runs in the first inning 6 times so far this season, and have had 13 games where they've scored at least 1 run in the first inning, as that bunt by Goodnight is tipped foul. So Georgia looking to get off to a big start early and hopefully get a few runs across here in this first inning. So now the 1-2 count to Goodnight. Hurd winds up and she will swing at it, and she will not make contact with that one, as we get a punch out for Jory Hurd.
yeah, that's big for the Gamecocks coming out, getting that first batter out with a strikeout, a swinging strikeout as well.
Yes.
Setting the tone early.
Hurd 61 strikeouts heading into this series, and now Sarah Gordon up at the plate for Georgia. She's out at first base today. The junior out of Lexington, South Carolina, so a hometown kid playing for the Georgia Bulldogs. First pitch outside ball. The second pitch will be a bit high over the glove of Lexi Winters for ball number 2. Hurd, of course, looking to bring that SEC experience to this team, as this one will be called that will be called a strike. So the count is 2-1. But of course, Hurd, we mentioned, the only returning pitcher for this Gamecock squad. A lot of pitchers coming out of Charlotte, and another transfer pitcher out of Charleston Southern as well. As she makes contact with this, heads to second, and the throw to first base. Ariana Rohde there at first to get the out. That's number 2 for the Gamecocks, as Jaden Goodwin comes up, the junior out of Paris, Kentucky. She has a .386 average for the Bulldogs in the 3-hole spot. 32 hits and 25 runs. And the first pitch from Hurd will be outside, but it will be called within the zone for strike one, just clipping the edge of that plate.
Starting to get a look at the home plate umpire's strike zone here.
And she will swing at that one. No doubt about that for strike number 2.
And that pitch was just a little bit outside, about in the same place as the strike that the umpire called before. So you can see how now they're starting to fill out that strike zone, and they know what they need to go for.
Hurd with the 0-2 pitch, and it's a swing and a miss for the Bulldogs. So Carolina, Hurd will strike out 2, and another force out to end the top of the first inning. No runs for Georgia, which is a big win for the Gamecocks here. As we mentioned, those first inning stats, Georgia likes to get across the plate, not allowing them to in this game. So we'll see what the Gamecock offense has in store.
And not many pitches off the hand of Jory Hurd here. When you're the first 3 batters of the first inning of a game, you want to get as many pitches out of the pitcher as you can so your team can see what she looks like, see what she's throwing. It looks like she's doing a good bit of outside, especially on those left-handed batters. So not many pitches for the Georgia offense to see coming through there, which might show to be an advantage for South Carolina, but not the best first inning for Georgia for sure, especially, like you said, after their history of getting on base early and getting points across the plate early.
Absolutely. Well, and a lot of swings in this inning too. You could tell they wanted to get people out on the base. They wanted to get across the plate, but just not able to make a connection. So Jory Hurd really doing a good job framing the zone so far at the start of this inning.
Yeah. And only one bunt attempt from Georgia. So they're not just trying to get on base. They're trying to make some moves here early, which is very characteristic of this team.
Now we'll take a look at the Georgia outfield. Starting in the circle for the Bulldogs, the lefty Randy Rowling, the sophomore out of Modesto, California, a transfer into Georgia from the University of California, and has been one of their top pitchers so far this season for Georgia. And the Gamecocks will start with Quincy Lelio at the plate, the redshirt junior transfer out of Oklahoma. Gamecocks probably hoping that she could provide a little bit of insight into Oklahoma's team. And, of course, we mentioned earlier, the Gamecocks staying very close with Oklahoma throughout that series, proving they can play with those top teams in the SEC and, of course, therefore in the nation, as she will make contact with that one, but it will go very far foul out of the concourse on the first base side.
Yeah, and she was quite a bit ahead of that pitch,
Yes.
so it's interesting to see. Looks like she's stationed pretty far back in the box, but still way ahead of that pitch.
Pitch 2 called ball 1. Lelio has been at the top of the lineup very consistently for South Carolina, hitting with an average of .476 and a slug percentage of .622 with 39 hits so far this season. And there is another one for Lelio as she gets a base hit right past second, in between second base and short, and that will take her to first. So a runner on with no outs as Carly Shelton comes to the plate, sophomore out of Lexington, South Carolina, hometown girl who decided to stay home.
And Lelio did exactly what she was supposed to there. Get the ball on the ground and get on base. There's no reason to be popping it up right now. And now they have a runner on base that they can move around.
So Railing's first pitch to Shelton, high and outside for ball 1. Catcher extending very far to get that grab. Marissa Miller is behind the plate for the Bulldogs, making a good effort to extend out and make that grab. Shelton will take pitch 2 fouled behind her, make the count 1-1.
She was just a bit under that pitch there. Fouled it straight back. Lelio will stay on first base, run for herself.
So now the 1-1 count for Shelton. Railing's pitch outside, called ball 2. Looks like the catcher was kind of waiting a little bit, holding that glove there, trying to get the strike call out of the umpire, but no such luck for Marissa Miller. So a 2-1 count. Lilio still at first base, no outs. Reling's pitch very low, skipping across the ground just in front of the plate. Makes the count 3-1.
Catcher for Georgia definitely getting to show a little bit of moving around here, her skills behind the plate.
And Shelton makes contact, but it will go foul. It will go over the fence, but foul on the first base side. Will
Seems
make
like
the
both
count
of
full.
these, both of these hitters are a little bit out in front of our pitcher here for Georgia. Rolling.
Rolling entering with a 2.55 ERA as she will go low again. And that will put runners on first and second for the Gamecocks with no outs as they look to clinch this series against Georgia. No score so far. 1 hit for Quincy Lilio and a walk for Shelton. Brings up Ariana Rohde, the junior out of Cranston, Rhode Island. First pitch high for ball 1.
This is exactly where you want to be if you're the South Carolina team right now. We have no outs, have runners on first and second, and you have Ariana Rohde up to bat, who has 10 home runs on the season.
First pitch second pitch rather inside for ball 2. As you mentioned, a big hitter and very dangerous for Georgia to have her with both of the first and second runners on the bases and no outs. Very dangerous position.
She also has a great eye. She leads the team in walks, so she will sit up there until she gets her pitch for sure.
Yep. And Rolling will pitch inside again. The umpire says it is in the zone, so that will be the first strike on Ariana Rohde. Makes the count 2-1. Rayling's pitch, and she makes contact to the first base side. The right fielder, Taya Charton, is out to make the grab in foul territory. But Quincy Lilio will advance to third, so it gives the Gamecocks 1 out and runners on the corners as Ella Chansey, the senior out of Georgia's neck of the woods, Athens, comes in and looks to bring some runs across for the Gamecocks.
I'll be interested to see if the Gamecocks are going to try to steal second here with only 1 out. We haven't really seen the pitcher's arm yet, the catcher, excuse me.
Rayling's first pitch high for ball 1, just the slightest bit outside.
And Carly Shelton will stay on first base for now.
Chansey coming in with a 3.24 average and 23 hits. That time low for Railing, makes the count 2-0. Railing's pitch, and Chansey makes contact, but it's scooped up by the shortstop for Georgia, so he makes the throw back to first and is called out. So no scoring allowed for the Gamecocks as Georgia, the shortstop, that's Emily Digby out at short, making an amazing catch, just a heads-up play, putting that glove in the right place at the right time, and then having the conscience to get the throw back to first in time for the out to retire the side. So a scoreless first inning for both sides. We'll see if Georgia can get some runs across the plate here in the second. We're not able to in the first, as they have been so many times this season, but we will see which team's offense capitalizes first as Jory Hurd returns to the circle.
And I just said a minute ago that this is exactly where this Carolina team wanted to be here in the first inning. 2 runners on and 1 out, and now all of a sudden nobody got to get across home plate. And we have an out. I think Carly Shelton on first base really expected that ball to go past our Georgia shortstop there, and it didn't. And she was quite far off base and couldn't make it back to first base in time, even with the dive. Quick arm by the shortstop for Georgia. You got to be really careful with that. When that caught ball was two outs, you have a girl on third base. You don't want to leave her up there. Don't want to leave her there. Got to give her that chance to get across the base.
Absolutely. As the sun begins to peek out from this heavy cloud coverage we've had here in Columbia on this Sunday, the humidity continuing to build as it gets warmer. And we'll head into the top of the second inning. It will be Tyler Ellison, the second baseman, up for Georgia. Senior out of Hudson, Florida, who currently has a 3.43 average, 24 hits, 19 runs, and 20 RBIs. Looking to see if she can be Georgia's first base runner of the game. Hurd winds up for her first pitch to Ellison. She makes contact just over the glove of the shortstop. That's Shea Anderson at short. And Ellison will, in fact, make it to first. Georgia's first base runner of the game as Lindy Ray Davis comes up to the plate.
That was a good reach by Shea Anderson at shortstop, but it wasn't just not quite enough. Maybe if she had one more inch on that glove, she could have got that.
Yeah, just a great placement by Ellison to really just stretch it just past the reach of Shea Anderson. Hurd's first pitch outside for ball one to Lindy Ray Davis. We mentioned a grad student, has an average of 254 on the year so far. Second pitch crossing over the plate makes the count 1-1. So now one hit each for the Bulldogs and the Gamecocks. A runner on first with no outs. Game is still scoreless. As there's a bunt from Davis. Makes the throw to first in time, but a sac bunt to advance the runner to second.
That was a beautiful bunt placement. It was right down the third baseline. Made the third baseman come in and get it and make that throw across to first base. Plenty of time for Tyler Ellison to get to second base for the Bulldogs.
Yep, just great placement right in front of the box there for Davis. And now Marissa Miller, the catcher, up at the plate. Junior out of Sewanee, Georgia. Hurd's first pitch inside for ball one. Miller entering this series with a 3.33 average and 14 hits on the season. And she makes contact with that one past Anderson once again, who heads to third. And the throw cut off from home, but runners now at the corners for Georgia. One out, and Taya Charlton coming up to the plate. But before that, we'll have a quick mound meeting.
That was a nice line drive as well, doing her job to get the runner around to third. And then we're back in the situation that Carolina had a minute ago. So let's see if Georgia is able to capitalize off of it. Like the Gamecocks were not, unfortunately. But good for the left fielder for Carolina. Emily Vincent keeping in front of her. If it would have slipped behind her, if she would have bobbled it for a second, that runner at third definitely could have made her way around. She's got some speed. And that's not what the Gamecocks want right now with only one out on the board.
Absolutely, a very good job at just managing the positions here for the Gamecock defense. So quick meeting between Hurd, Winters, and head coach Chastain Woodard. Chastain Woodard, of course, before her time as a head coach, served as a pitching coach at several different locations, including College of Charleston, Michigan State, and Ole Miss, before getting her head coaching position at UNC Charlotte, and now with the Gamecocks here in her first season. Starting out very well. Charlton's first pitch from Hurd inside, called ball one. Second pitch is swung at and missed by Charlton. It's a slight bit inside from Hurd. 1-1 count with 1 out and runners at the corners for the Bulldogs. Third pitch from Hurd. Charlton shows bunt but does not go for contact. And it will bounce off the backstop.
She kind of did a little slap bunt move there, changing it up on our pitcher, Jory Hurd. See if she'll go for that again.
The count now 1-2. Might have been a slight bit of contact, might have been foul, but she will swing at it and miss for Hurd's third strikeout of the game. And 2 outs now for Georgia. The shortstop Emily Digby now at the plate. Sophomore out of Dakota, Georgia. They 258 average on the season. Hurd's first pitch swung at by Digby but missed. Makes the count 0-1. And the second pitch from Hurd off the glove of Winters. The runner at third thought about coming home, but a very heads-up play by Hurd to run to the plate as Winters sought to collect the ball, not allowing the runners to advance. Runner from first will advance to second, however. Make it 2 runners in scoring position for the Bulldogs with 2 outs. Hurd's third pitch swung at once again by Digby, makes the count 1-2. Just a little bit inside for Digby as Carolina looks to keep the Bulldogs scoreless here early. Hurd's pitch swung at and missed again. The call appealed to third base, and he will say they are out.
Great job by Jory Hurd getting herself out of that situation there with those 2 strikeouts. Dug herself a little bit of a hole there for a second, and it got a little dicey for her, but she put the pitches across the plate, and the batters weren't able to get contact with them. And also, Lexi Winters making that save. That pitch by Jory Hurd that went behind her was pretty far outside of the box, and Winters made a quick run to the back of the pin to grab that.
And a big heads-up play by Hurd, too, to just get to the plate in time and just have a good understanding of where the batters are and the need to keep the runner at third. The runner from first advanced to second. That's okay in Hurd's mind. You just want to keep them off of the plate, especially in a scoreless game where the Bulldogs look to try and score early.
Yeah, and you don't want to give anything to this Georgia team. Got to make them earn it, or they'll start taking quite quickly.
So we'll have rolling return to the plate, to the circle for the Bulldogs. We'll see if Carolina can add any digits to the runs column here in the bottom of the second. The humidity starting to get to us a little bit here in this open air booth.
Yes. There's a bit of a breeze going on.
I was going to say a little bit of a breeze coming in now, making it a little bit more manageable, but
the flags out behind center field are definitely moving around a lot. Pushing back towards home plate, though, so probably not going to help any of our hitters too much here today.
Yeah. But great for us in this booth to get a little bit of air in here.
Definitely feels great. It's quite humid and definitely could use that breeze right now.
Lexi Winters up to the plate, the junior out of Lexington, South Carolina. First pitch from Railing, a butt right over the middle of the plate for strike 1. Winters, one of the 6 players to follow Coach Chastain Woodard from her previous school in UNC Charlotte. And Winters will make contact, but it'll roll right along the ground. And that will head straight into the glove of Sarah Gordon at first base, where she'll be able to make the easy tag for out number 1.
Again, a lot of these Carolina hitters are pretty far out in front of rolling here. That hit right off the end of her bat and kind of just died down the first baseline.
Abigail Knight now at the plate, the 6th year, another transfer out of UNC Charlotte. Railing's first pitch outside for ball 1, just outside that edge of the plate. Knight with a 3.42 average so far on the year. Second pitch from Railing right over the middle of the plate, but low for ball number 2. It's the 2-0 count. Railing's pitch outside, ball number 3. Or no, they will call that a strike. Looked quite a bit outside to me, but the call is strike number 1 for Abigail Knight.
Home plate umpire Susan Eads has got a pretty wide strike zone, I would say.
Knight makes contact with that one, but fouls it straight up behind her out of the concourse. That will make the count 2-2.
And I feel as though that wide strike zone is forcing the hitters to swing at a little bit more, be a little bit less selective here.
And of course, we don't have the best angle here on the first base side press box, but looked quite a bit outside to me, as did that one. That one called ball number 3.
Yeah, I do agree. It was about right over the right-handed batter box line.
So a full count for Abigail Knight. No runners on and 1 out. And she looks to swing at it, but does not make contact, and that will be out number 2.
Looked like she was doing a little bit more than trying to make contact with that one. Couldn't quite keep her head down on it. Pulled that shoulder out just a little bit.
Yeah, looking to maybe get some runs in the scoring column there.
Yeah.
But just not quite able to make contact. That will bring up Natalie Heath, the redshirt junior out of Sharpsburg, Georgia. Railing's first pitch to Heath in the dirt outside for ball 1. Heath acting as the designated player today. Has a 3.53 average and 7.65 slug percentage on the year. That one called inside for ball number 2. So again, 2 outs, nobody on. Railing's third pitch to Heath inside, clipping the edge of the plate for strike number 1. Fourth pitch outside and in the dirt for ball 3. Heath did not see a lot of time with the Gamecocks last season, despite being a returner. Only played in 6 games prior to this season, 2 last season and 4 in her freshman year in 2022, as she makes contact with that one, but it will be popped up into shallow center field. The shortstop, Emily Digby, going back into the outfield to make that count for out number 3. So still scoreless here after 2 as we head into the top of the 3rd. And Jory Hurd will return to the circle and look to continue to keep Georgia at bay, as she's done a great job at these first 2 innings.
Yeah, it's definitely been a battle of the pitchers here so far. Lots of stuff right across the plate, and seems like no hitter from either side can quite get a handle on anything quite yet. But it's only the 3rd inning now, so they've only seen her about once, some of them maybe twice. So not even, actually.
Right. Mua Williams at the bottom of the lineup will lead off for Georgia. It's a freshman out of Waimanalo, Hawaii. So traveling quite a long distance to get to Athens, Georgia for her collegiate career. It's had a pretty good freshman showing so far, a 258 average with 17 hits, 15 runs, 9 RBIs, and a very highly touted freshman for this Georgia program. She's named to the D1 Softball Freshman 100 watch list as well as the Softball America Freshman watch list. So definitely someone that I'm sure the Gamecocks have taken notice of too so far in this series.
Yeah, for sure. I'm interested to see how Jory Hurd goes about handling her in the box.
As Georgia now returns to the plate, they have 2 hits. South Carolina only having 1 hit so far on the game. And we will see, of course, how Jory Hurd deals with Mua Williams as she gets set for this first pitch of the 3rd inning. Winds up, pitch inside and high for ball 1. Mua is the youngest of 8 kids in the Williams family back in Hawaii. The 1-0 count from Hurd, and Williams will make contact with it. Popped out to right field, and that one may be gone. It is. Mua Williams, a solo shot for the Bulldogs, and they'll get on the board first.
And that'll be her only 2nd home run of the season. Good to see her showing up at the bottom of that lineup there and then putting Dallas Goodnight at the top of the lineup in a good position here. Some of the pressure's off. She just needs to get on base.
We mentioned the wind blowing inside as well. Blowing a little bit towards that left field side, so maybe a little bit of carry there, but definitely not much as the wind is still majoritively blowing in towards home plate.
Yeah, and left fielder for the Gamecocks, Emily Vinson, definitely knew that one was gone.
First pitch to Goodnight, low and outside as Goodnight comes back to the plate. Struck out in the 1st inning, one of Hurd's 4 strikeouts so far in this game. Pitch number 2, very well outside in the right-handed batter's box for ball number 1, makes the count 1-1. That first pitch called strike. Hurd's 3rd pitch, and Goodnight makes contact out to left center. But the left fielder, Emily Vinson, there to make the grab for out number 1. Just did not quite have the distance, and again with the wind, that one did not have a chance of making it very far out into the outfield.
And credit to Emily Vinson on that. She was playing quite far over towards the 3rd base line, and she made it over there. Took that first step back, and looks like we're going to have a little bit of a change here on the field.
As head coach Chastain Woodard meeting with the home plate umpire Susan Eads. Looking to make a change. Will it be a pitching change or just another defensive substitution? It will be a pitching change.
Does seem like they've got Jory Hurd's numbers here a little bit.
Yes. Starting
to catch up with her on that 2nd time through.
And it will be number 9, Sam Gress, making her way to the circle to help out this defense here for Carolina after the solo home run. Sam Gress, another one of those Charlotte transfers, one of 2 pitchers who transferred into Carolina from Charlotte. The other one being Katie Becker.
Sam Gress was instrumental in that win yesterday over Georgia. She pitched all 7 innings, and she did not allow a runner across the plate in the first 5. So it's a little bit interesting to me that Chastain Woodard is bringing her out this early, but obviously she can pitch a lot of pitches and a lot of innings, and this Georgia team has a little bit of trouble with her, so I would say it's a good move.
You mentioned it basically a full game yesterday. The game yesterday did go into 8 innings, but 7 innings pitched by Sam Gress, and a very interesting move by Chastain, but clearly a lot of confidence in Gress. Chastain Woodard's gotten to know Sam Gress, of course, in her career at Charlotte. Has a lot of confidence in the 6th-year pitcher. So we will see if Gress is able to control the offense here for Georgia, as she did yesterday for the first 5 innings of that game. As Georgia now leads the Gamecocks 1-0.
And even after those first 5 innings, she only gave them 2 earned runs. They only could get that out of her. And we have the Gamecocks, have quite a deep bullpen here, so we'll see if Gress can make it through, but if not, I'm sure that Chastine Woodard had some more tricks up her sleeve here.
Yes, absolutely. 3 more pitchers for the Gamecocks there in the bullpen that can be used, of course. So now Sarah Gordon up to the plate, the Bulldogs' first baseman. First time up, had a ground out to second base. She swings at this first pitch and will not make contact. Gress playing a little bit lower in the zone. And Gordon tries to take a stab at it and misses. So an 0-1 count with 1 out. No runners on for Georgia. Gress's second pitch. Gordon will make contact and foul it into the net there near the backstop on the first base side. Gress having a 3.58 ERA and 32 strikeouts, 29 walks on the season.
And this is her count right here, 0-2. She does not have to throw it down the middle.
She does not do that. A little bit low and inside, I think, for the home base umpire's liking. That'll make it ball 1.
Looks like it might have been a changeup as well. Doing whatever they can here to throw off these Georgia hitters.
Absolutely. 1-2 pitch. And Gordon will swing at it and miss. Strikeout number 1 for Sam Gress. Out number 2 on the inning for the Gamecocks. Brings up Jaden Goodwin.
And you can already feel that run that it felt like Georgia had is simmered off after this.
Yes. Goodwin also struck out at the beginning of this game here. The first inning is Sam Gress calls a quick timeout.
Taking control of the game here.
We'll reset the pitch clock as Gress winds up for her first pitch to Goodwin. And Goodwin will make contact, fouled off the net on the third base side. Count 0-1. Jane Goodwin, a returner for this Georgia squad, had 58 appearances in 36 starts last season. So far this season has been pretty consistent as a .386 average with 32 hits for the Bulldogs. They're in that 3 spot. Low and outside, but clips the edge of the plate.
That's that pitch we've been seeing pretty consistently from both pitchers on either side here that our home plate umpire is definitely calling. When those lefties are in the box and you throw it on that right-handed batter's box line, she's going to call it.
Absolutely. A wide strike zone, but a consistent one on both sides. It's the 0-2 count. Goodwin will foul it to keep the count at 0-2.
And again, that one was a little bit outside, but now these hitters know that they have to swing at stuff like that. They can't watch it go by.
The claps begin here in Beckham Field, Carolina Softball Stadium. A 0-2 count with 2 outs. No runners on. Goodwin makes contact. It will go foul. And the Gamecocks do not get there quite in time. Looks like a near collision there at the fence from number 12, or one of the Carolina outfielders. It's like maybe nope, that's the wrong. It's like maybe number 43 number 43. Near collision there. 0-2 count, fouled once again. So several pitches this at bat. Goodwin still fighting and clawing to keep this inning alive for Georgia. An inning that began with the freshman Mua Williams with a solo shot out into left field to get the Bulldogs on the board with their first run. Though to count, Goodwin makes contact and will lift out to right center. And number 7, Abigail Knight, there to make the grab and retire the inning for the Gamecocks, but not before a run crosses the plate for the Georgia Bulldogs, making the score 1-0 here. So now USC looking to get their bats warm and get ready to hopefully respond here in the bottom of the third.
Yes, number 34, Randy Rolling, will return to the circle for the Bulldogs. So the Gamecocks have another chance to see a pitcher they've already seen now and hopefully start warming those bats back up. But not a large deficit here at all. I wouldn't be worried right now if I was the Gamecocks, but I would start to light a little bit of a fire and try to get something going here.
Absolutely. Rolling has been able to do a very good job keeping the Gamecocks from crossing the plate. Gamecocks do have one hit, and I believe Rolling has a walk or two earned already in this game. But just doing a very good job keeping the Gamecocks away from the plate, not over pitching, letting her outfield, letting her defense do their jobs as well when contact is made. And keeping the Gamecocks scoreless so far as we enter the bottom of the third.
Yeah, and so the Gamecocks need to work on not leaving anybody on base here. Like we said earlier in that last inning, we had runners on third and first with one out, and nobody was able to cross the plate. So it's not something you want to see. I know head coach for South Carolina does. Ashley Chastain's not her favorite moment there.
Shay Anderson will come to the plate, the shortstop in today's game for the Gamecocks. Freshman out of Moore Park, California, has not been the biggest hitter for the Gamecocks with a 100 average and just one hit in 10 at-bats. Anderson getting the chance here, as we mentioned, has not had a lot of at-bats this season, but able to get out and get some SEC play experience as a freshman. That first pitch right across the middle of the plate from Rolling for strike one. Anderson rated the number 43 player in this past year's recruiting class by extra inning softball, as she'll ground this one straight to the shortstop, Emily Digby, who will make the throw to first for out number 1. It will bring up the senior Emily Vinson from Elgin, South Carolina, a transfer out of Longwood. Rolling's first pitch, Vinson will make contact out to Digby once again. Looked like she struggled a little bit there to get her footing, but was able to recover, make the throw to first in time for out number 2. And
yeah, you can tell that shortstop area back there. A lot of footprints. Obviously, it was raining earlier today, but I believe the field dried up quite a bit because they were watering it before the game. But there do seem to be a few spots on the field that are a little bit wetter than the rest. Might have caused that issue with her footing.
First pitch to Lilio, clipping the outside edge of the plate for strike one. Once again, that wide strike zone by home plate umpire Susan Eads. Quite a bit outside the edge of the plate, at least from our angle. Pitch number 2, right in that same spot, once again called a strike. So an 0-2 count with 2 outs for Quincy Lilio. Here in the bottom of the third as the Gamecocks are down 1-0. Rayleigh's pitch high for ball 1. Lilio, we mentioned, being a great leadoff hitter, able to make a lot of contact, a 4.82 average, and just having the ability to get on base for the Gamecocks as she looks to swing. Makes contact with that one, but foul just behind the plate. So the count will remain 1-2. quite a big crowd here at Carolina Softball Stadium looking to see these top 10 ranked Gamecocks in action as Lelio will foul it down the first base side.
And Lelio has a 590 on base percentage, so she gets on base more often than not. I would be interested to see if she does get on base here, if the South Carolina Gamecocks can come up behind her with 2 outs and still move her around.
1-2 count outside, just low enough for Eads to not call it a strike there. Makes the count 2-2. Again, no runners on, 2 outs for Carolina. Down 1-0. That ball in the dirt for ball number 3 makes the count full for Quincy Lelio. You mentioned her transferring from Oklahoma. Did not see a lot of playing time with the Sooners, but you think maybe could bring some insight into the program for Carolina. Maybe it was the case with the Gamecocks staying close as Lelio will walk on the low ball outside, making it ball number 4. I think it might have been the case with them being able to play so close, but just not able to get a win down there in Norman.
But again, they've proved themselves that they can hang with those big guys in big programs. And that pitch that Lelio just walked on was a bit interesting to me. It seemed like it was that pitch that she's been calling a strike quite a bit, but it was a little bit low.
Might have been a bit too low.
Yeah.
And there's that pitch there on the outside edge. Carly Shelton's first pitch walked her last time up. Now facing an 0-1 count with 2 outs. Lelio at first base. No runs scored for the Gamecocks as Shelton makes contact and pops the glove off of Randy Rolling. She's able to gather it and make the throw to first to tag out Carly Shelton. And in the inning, Georgia is still up 1-0 and will be back at the plate here at the top of the 4th.
And that was a hot shot by Carly Shelton there to Randy Rolling on in the circle, and I thought that almost might have hurt her hand. I wonder if that will cause a pitching change. It seemed like she was holding her hand kind of stiff after that, but she picked her glove back up with her glove hand. So hopefully not an injury there, but I will be interested to see if she comes back out or maybe she heads down to the bullpen to throw a few pitches. But great job by her ignoring the fact that she no longer had a glove.
Yes.
And still picked up that ball and got it to first as quickly as she could.
Yeah, still not getting rattled by that glove, just popping off so suddenly and able to look down, make the grab, and make the throw.
And thankfully for her, she knocked the ball down enough that it didn't pop up and away from her, but it kind of just died where she was, where her glove fell, so she was able to easily pick it up and transfer it over to first.
Sam Gress remaining on the mound for Carolina after the pitching change at the top of the 3rd inning. It will be Ellison up to bat. Tyler Ellison, the second baseman, up to bat for Georgia.
This will be the second time through for all of these Georgia players, but the first time facing Sam Gress today. So we'll see who has the advantage here.
We'll see if Gress will be able to bring a new look pitching-wise for South Carolina. You mentioned she pitched 7 innings in the last game, the Gamecocks win against Georgia yesterday. We'll see if Gress has something different to offer to some of these batters who, again, she just faced yesterday. And we'll see if these batters are able to remember some of those pitches that Gress gives off. Tyler Ellison had a single her first time up. That was facing Jory Hurd. It's her first time facing Gress as Gress winds up for the first pitch. Inside called strike. That same spot we've been seeing.
Mostly been called on those left-handed batters, but still got it on the righty here. I think both pitchers should be using that to their advantage here today.
Absolutely.
And it seems like they are, for sure.
Gress especially, as that's relatively same spot, maybe a little bit more outside, closer to that edge of the plate, but called for the second strike there, 0-2 count. And, I mean, yeah, if it keeps getting called, I mean, just put it in that same spot.
And batters keep not swinging at it.
Yep. Keeps being a little too inside or a little too outside. That third pitch called low. Was above the plate, but called low for ball 1.
Everybody seems quite surprised with that call, especially Carolina's catcher, Lexi Winters back there.
So now the 1-2 count. Georgia up 1-0. Sam Gress, the throw to Ellison makes contact, but will land foul in the outfield on that first base side.
Heard's been doing Sam Gress has been doing a great job here getting out in front of these batters. She has started off almost every one of the batters she's faced today 2-0, and she's now 1-2. So she keeps the ball in her court.
1-2 count. Ellison swings and misses. Again, that inside pitch just kind of a little bit wider in the strike zone. Ellison makes an attempt to swing at it, but just not able to make contact. Very difficult spot to be able to make contact from that far inside.
Yeah, especially on the right-handed hitter there. Her hands just couldn't get inside of that ball. And she knew after about half of that swing that she wasn't getting it. She tried to stop, but it was far too late by then.
Lindy Ray Davis back up to the plate. First pitch from Gress. Outside of that same spot, but a little bit low. Makes it called ball 1. Lindy Ray Davis, the graduate out of Calhoun, Georgia. Typically plays catcher, but is appearing as the designated player today. Had 21 starts last season as the designated player for Georgia, as that one is fouled behind her out of the concourse, makes the count 1-1. Had 21 appearances at designated player last year for the Bulldogs, 28 starts at catcher. So someone who Georgia has had a lot of experience with Georgia. And in 2025, she was rated the number 17 catcher in the nation by D1 Softball's position rankings. That last pitch outside for ball 2.
That one seemed to be about that same pitch we've been talking about this whole time, but it was definitely higher in the strike zone. I wonder if that's going to make our difference with the home base umpire here.
Seems like a bit of a flipped strike zone today. You get it wider, but maybe a little bit shorter.
Yep.
That one called strike 2. Again, that same spot on that outside edge of the plate. Sam Gress definitely taking that spot, working it to her advantage as the count is now 2-2. With 1 out, no runners on base for Georgia, who is up 1-0 on the Gamecocks. Bit too far outside that time, makes the count 3-2.
That one seemed like a curve. It didn't come straight through on that base, on that outside pitch, but it curved out away from our Georgia batter, Lindsay Ray Davis here.
Davis makes contact, pops it up on that foul first base side. Oh, almost a catch. But looks like it tripped over the umpire there at first base. I'm trying to look at the number to see. That might be. Looks like second baseman Carly Shelton, and now Shelton struggling.
Might have got the wind knockout.
I was going to say struggling to catch her breath after that fall.
And the fans definitely not happy about that one. I thought she might have tripped over the lip between the grass and the clay, but it seems as though she hit the umpire, and seems also as head coach Ashley Chastain Woodard is talking to that.
I was going to say, from my view, it looks like she tripped over the foot of the first base umpire out there.
I've got a little bit of a wall in front of me. I couldn't quite get a good look at it.
But you're definitely right. It could have been the lip there at where that outfield grass meets. But Chastain Woodard definitely having a few words out there with Mark Brown, the first base umpire, as Shelton still meeting with the training staff, catching her breath.
I wonder if she is really trying to catch her breath, or if she's a little bit more upset about what happened with that play. But she did take a hard tumble right on her stomach, it looked like.
Absolutely. And Shelton very vocal with her call. We could hear her up here calling for the ball.
Yes, I was getting ready to watch her catch that ball and then give her praise for that.
First baseman Ariana Rohde going away from the ball because of those, call-outs of Shelton calling for it. But
And she's always got a better angle on that when she's going to the side and back instead of our first baseman here, Ariana, going straight back. Much harder for her to make the catch. So good job on her for calling her off and letting her peel away.
so Shelton back out at second base. 3-2 count to Lindy Ray Davis. Makes contact out to third, and the throw to first is in time. It's Ella Chansey making the grab there at third base and making the throw over to Rhodey at first for out number 2. Now brings up the starting catcher for the Georgia Bulldogs, Marissa Miller. Had a single her first time up facing Jory Hurd. As we've mentioned, does not face Sam Gress yet today, who held these Georgia batters at bay with no earned runs allowed the first 5 innings. And she makes contact with this one and just over the fence, just clearing that one by maybe by a foot, maybe 2, and another solo shot for the Bulldogs. Makes the score 2-0.
Yeah, that was definitely a hard hit ball because it seemed like it was just going to be a line drive to the left fielder if she could get closer to the third base line in time, but it went almost directly from the plate right over the wall here.
Yeah, I was getting ready to call that a catch there by Emily Vincent out in left field, but just some great power behind it, and just really, as you mentioned, just a straight line drive, barely clearing the fence out there in left field. 200-yarder for sure. Taya Charlton now up at the plate, first pitch low for ball 1. One 0 count from Gress. Inside, and it looks like just a bit low for ball number 2. It's 2-0 count for Charlton, 2 outs, nobody on. Gress's pitch in the dirt for ball number 3. And we'll have a quick chat between Winters and Gress. Actually, it'll just be a ball exchange there.
Like I said, the field is pretty dried out here, but there are some spaces, specifically right there in front of home base between the circle and home plate, that are a little bit wet. I'm wondering if she was having some problems with some humidity and moisture on the ball there.
3-0 pitch, low and inside for ball number 4, and that will send Charlton to first, and Emily Digby will be up to bat, the shortstop. But real quick, we'll have a mound meeting with Coach Chastain Woodard.
It seems like these Georgia batters get these single-run home runs, and then you can start to feel that they're getting into a groove here, and Chastain Woodard wants to come out right now, stop that groove, and put the time back on South Carolina's time instead of letting Georgia control the game here, especially when you have your team on the field, your own Sam Gress in the mound. You want to make sure she's not rushing to pitch to the pitchers and that they're on her groove instead of her being on theirs.
Absolutely. Of course, we mentioned Gress several times, pitching 7 innings yesterday. You wonder how many of those Georgia Bulldogs kind of remember the placements of those pitches and are able to capitalize off it just like that there in that solo shot out to left field.
You also wonder if poor Sam Gress's arm is tired. You know,
that also.
That's a lot of pitching, and she's already back out, and we don't know how long she'll be on the mound for, so hopefully she got some ice on that arm last night.
First pitch to Digby from Sam Gress. And Digby will bunt. It'll go right back to Gress, who makes the throw to Rhodey at first. And in the top of the 4th with just one more run for the Georgia Bulldogs, now making the score 2-0. But we mentioned Sam Gress, 7 innings pitched yesterday, basically a full game, even though yesterday's game went into 8 innings with that walk-off win for South Carolina. Again, you wonder the tiredness level, and you wonder what Coach Chastain Woodard's decision is for putting Gress in the 3rd inning of this game, so early in this game, when we have, several other pitchers who could come in and be very successful. Neely Lamb has been very successful for us this season. Katie Becker has had a lot of appearances so far, maybe not necessarily SEC play, but still has been a very good arm for this Carolina squad. You wonder why the decision was made to Gress, who pitched so much yesterday, to bring her back in just the day after.
Well, I guess go with what works, you know. She obviously did well for them yesterday, and maybe the Georgia team hasn't got her number yet, so bring her back out until they do, you know what I mean? But I'm a little bit questioning about moves from both head coaches. A bunt there from that last Georgia batter with 2 outs and a runner on first. I know we're trying to move the runner around, but there were 2 outs, and I'm not sure where they wanted her to place that bunt, but she hit it kind of straight back to the pitcher there. It wasn't a hard play for Sam Gress to make. So I'm wondering what the decision on that one was as well.
And of course, we mentioned the infield dirt earlier being so damp in front of home plate too as well. Just kind of helping that ball kind of get stuck, not maybe move or bounce around as much as you want on a kind of 2-out bunt situation.
Yeah, on a 2-out bunt, you'd really like for something to chop down or something to even die, but it's not wet enough for the ball to just die right in front of the plate, and it's not dry enough for the ball to get any kind of crazy movement either. So
right.
Perfect for the offense in this situation, not so much for the defense.
Absolutely. Ariana Rohde now at the plate for the Gamecocks. 0 for 1 today, but is a big home run hitter for the Gamecocks, leads the team with 10 home runs on the season so far. Now hoping to get some points on the board as that first pitch inside strike 1. That same placement we've been seeing called by Susan Eads so far this game. Which you have to applaud for the consistency at least. That same spot has been used very handedly by both pitchers and has been called every time. Same spot again for strike 2 there. The catcher not able to get quite as good of a handle on the ball, but.
Well, with even out the framing from the catcher, that one, she still called that one.
Yep. 0-2 count. A little bit high for ball 1. Rohde having a .391 average, but an .899 slug percentage on the year so far. So you can tell a big hitter. And Rohde makes contact, but it gets fouled deep on that third base side.
Just slightly too early on that pitch there. Could have been a really good placement right on that third base line, but it's just a little bit too far outside.
So the count will remain 1-2 with no outs and no runners on for Carolina.
It's another thing about that inside pitch on these right-hand hitters. If they're going to swing at it, they have to swing early, and that's going to pull it out behind them.
1-2 pitch outside and in the dirt for ball number 2. Count now even at 2 apiece. As Rohde looks to help the Gamecocks in the runs column. Rohde makes contact, fouled behind her down the first base side. We mentioned the pitching by Gress and by Jory Hurd earlier in this game for Carolina. How about the effort so far by Randy Rolling to only keep the Gamecocks at 1 hit? There's been some base running here and there, but just doing a very good job trusting her defense as that pitch low and outside for ball 3. Full count now for Ariana Rohde.
She's given us a few of the Gamecocks, a few walks, but nothing for them to capitalize off of so far. Keeping the bats off the ball for sure.
And do you like having that consistency too, not having to go to another batter so early? Inside for Ariana Rohde. That will be a walk for her, since her to first.
And now it's the bottom of the 4th. Your big hitter is on first base, which number 22 will come in to pinch run for her.
That'll be Nia McKnight, the freshman out of Loganville, Georgia. Has 9 runs so far, 15 appearances. This will be her 16th appearance as a pinch runner for the Gamecocks.
Very fast, no outs. And behind Rohde we have Ella Chansey, who has a .324 average. This is a good place to be for the Gamecocks, but again, we saw this in the inning earlier, and hopefully they can capitalize off something with this one.
Chansey makes contact with that first pitch, fouls it off behind her into the net. Make the count 0-1.
We also haven't seen our catcher here, Marissa Miller. We haven't seen her arm yet, so I would be interested to see if somebody tries to take a base and how that might turn out for them.
Be interested to see that battle. We mentioned earlier, I believe it was Miller who was ranked very high. Oh, no, it was Lindy Ray Davis, who's the DP. But Miller being a very consistent arm behind the plate for Georgia as well. Clearly a lot of trust to have her make the start here in this final game of the series against the Gamecocks. 2-1 count now for Ella Chansey. The pitches from Rawlings continue to be just a little bit low for Susan Eads' liking. McKnight still remaining at first. That 2-1 pitch inside, but called strike one, that same spot we've been seeing all game. We've mentioned McKnight, big speedster for Carolina, and for the freshmen especially, you know, even if they don't have the arm to, you know, be able to hit quite very consistently yet, Chansey will pop that up into right field, and it will just be a simple pop out there, catch by the right fielder, Taya Charton. But even if you don't see the freshman at the plate, you want to get them involved somehow, especially in SEC play. And when you have a speedster like Nia McKnight, it would be really a waste not to use her as a pitch runner and use that speed somehow, especially in SEC play, especially when you're down 2-0 this early in the game.
Also, when you have
first pitch
Ariana
to
Rhodey, who she's running for, is, you know, don't want Rhodey to get hurt on the bases. Biggest hitter for Carolina, would really hurt to lose her right now.
Absolutely. That first pitch to Winters inside for ball one. She has one out and a runner at first. Makes contact, but pops it up behind her and out of the concourse, hitting the roof here of the concourse actually. Evens the count at 1 apiece.
Seems like we're getting a lot of contact from these Carolina hitters, but nothing solid out into the field.
1-1 count in the dirt for ball two.
They thought McKnight might try to take that one, but she remained on first base.
I was going to say a lot of urgency by this Georgia outfield to make sure McKnight does not advance. Winters makes contact with that one out into left field, into foul territory, but Jaden Goodwin out there to make the grab for the Bulldogs. It brings up Abigail Knight now with 2 outs and a runner still on first for Carolina, looking to grab their first run of the game.
And when we had Gamecocks had an opening like this with a runner on, no outs, you do not want to be just giving them can of corn easy outs right now with those pop-ups.
Swings at that first ball for strike one. A little bit low, kind of ended up a little bit in the dirt for Rawlings and the catcher, Marissa Miller. But Knight still making an attempt at it. Makes the count 0-1. 0-1 pitch. Inside a bit too low, and that will be called ball one. Abigail Knight is in her 6th year with the Gamecocks. Spent her first year of her graduate career at UNC Charlotte, then transferring into South Carolina. But spent all 4 years of her undergrad at Boston College with the Eagles, playing in the SEC, as that pitch outside for ball number 2. She had a great run at Charlotte last year, was a member of the 2024 American Conference All-Tournament team. Knight swings at that low. It is a strike, but McKnight will advance to second. And that's what you want to see out of the speedy freshman.
The throw from Marissa Miller behind the plate was a bit too high. Shortstop had to jump and catch that one. A good job by the Georgia shortstop, Emily Digby, for getting up there. Because if it would have got past her with somebody like McKnight on the base, she might have taken third.
McKnight fouling it behind her. Keeps the count 2-2. But Knight being a very good contributor so far for the Gamecocks. 2 home runs so far in the season, 26 hits and 8 doubles, which Carolina is leading the nation in currently. Doubles and doubles per game have the highest rate of that in the NCAA, as that ball is high to make the count full. Two outs and a runner on second for Carolina. Still looking to score in this game, down 2-0 to the Georgia Bulldogs. Rolling takes a second to get situated there in the circle. Gets the pitch. Knight rather pops it up into left field once again. Foul territory. And Goodwin there to make the grab once again to retire the inning. So we're now through 4 innings. Georgia's still up 2-0, and they will be heading back to the plate here in the top of the 5th, looking to extend their lead further and a chance to grab their first SEC series win of the season. We mentioned they hosted Georgia last weekend, was able to snag a game away from the Volunteers there in Athens, but still not able to win the series.
Yeah. And going into the 5th inning now, I think it's time for the Carolina batters to start making an adjustment. Obviously, in that last inning, we saw a lot of 3 pop flies in a row that were pretty easy to put away for the Georgia defense. So they need to start getting on top of that ball a little bit more, stop giving them easy outs, and move their base runners around, because, again, that's another base runner that was left on. And that was not even from a hit. That was from a walk. So whenever the Georgia pitcher, Randy Rolling, is giving them those walks, they need to make sure they're capitalizing off of it and not leaving people on the base. I feel like that's what it might come down to with this game, is leaving people on base for Carolina.
So Sam Gress will remain in the circle for Carolina. You've mentioned she pitched 7 innings yesterday. Bring her in the 3rd inning. You wonder if her arm is a little bit tired. Gives up that solo shot there in the top of the 4th. And we will see if she's able to keep the Georgia batters at bay here in the 5th.
And Jory Hurd was pulled out pretty early after she gave up a single home run shot there as well. So Ashley Chastain must have good faith in Sam Gress here to keep it going, even though she gave up that home run.
The sun now coming up here at Beckham Field, but still quite a lot of gray cloud coverage. Had a lot of rain earlier this morning, but field is still good to go in game condition. Had to push the start time back from 1 to 2 p.m. because of that morning rain, but still able to get some softball going here on this Sunday afternoon.
Yeah, I was worried we might have to stop for a rain delay, but the last time I checked my weather app, it said not till 6 o'clock, but it's been changing quite a lot on me, so we'll see how that turns out for us.
Well, we have sun right now as Mua Williams comes to bat. Hit the solo shot there in the top of the 3rd inning against Jory Hurd. She's at the bottom of the lineup for the Bulldogs. You mentioned she's the freshman out of
Hawaii.
Waimanalo, Hawaii. So quite a bit of distance from there to Athens. That 2nd pitch inside, called strike 2. So no 2 count for Gress, looking to regain a little bit of control there at the plate.
Again, Gress is very, very good at getting ahead on these counts. And now she can be more selective and the batters cannot. Just like that one.
Williams swings and makes contact down, or fouls down on the 3rd base side, just in front of the batter's box there.
She has to take a swing at that inside pitch because she's 2-0, and they're calling those inside ones, but that hit the handle of her bat there was just a bit too inside for her to get a piece of it.
0-2 pitch from Gress. Williams makes contact but pops it out into left field. Vincent is there to make the grab for out number 1.
That one looked like it might have was going to get a little bit dicey between Vincent and the shortstop, Anderson, but couldn't hear him from here, but it seemed like they had pretty good communication. Anderson stopped right before Vincent put that ball in her glove.
It's now back at the top of the order with Dallas Goodnight 0 for 2 today with a strikeout. One of Jory Hurd's 4 strikeouts. She makes contact with this first pitch, but it'll go foul down the 3rd base side into the netting just to where the Georgia bullpen is. We see a pitcher warming up in the bullpen. Not quite sure who that is for Georgia. But we have a good view of the away bullpen. Not quite as so for the Gamecocks bullpen. We got to lean out here. There is someone warming up for Carolina as well. With Gress in the circle. Came in the 3rd inning. That pitch in the dirt outside for ball number 1. Evens up the count.
Yeah, I've got virtually no view of that bullpen. Just a little bit of Carolina beach volleyball back there.
Yeah. Matchup for beach volleyball as well today. We heard some of the player announcements as we came in to start setting up for our broadcast here of softball. So a big day here at the Athletics Village here in Carolina. A low pitch outside once again for ball number 2 for Sam Gress. And it is good to see someone warming up in the bullpen for Carolina in case, you know, Gress starting to maybe get a little bit more tired here. We've seen a couple balls in a row go in the dirt on that outside. And Winters will stop to have a bit of a conversation with Gress and some of the infield as well.
Yeah, we might be seeing the toll that those 7 innings yesterday and 2 innings now today are taking on her arm as all of the balls are kind of falling into the dirt here.
So Dallas Goodnight looking to get her first hit of the game here today. Gress's pitch outside. Looks like it was just a bit high for Susan Eads' liking. Makes it ball 3. It's now a 3-1 count with 1 out, nobody on for Georgia. Gress's pitch, and it's a swing from Goodnight. A little bit outside, not a chance to really make contact there. Makes it a full count at 3-2. Gress's pitch winds up, and Goodnight swings at it again. Strikeout number 2 for Goodnight, and another strikeout for Sam Gress.
That was just about the same pitch and swing back to back there.
That's the second strikeout of the day for Sam Gress as well, and now Chastain Woodard will go to the circle.
Sam Gress' time might be up here.
Well, it does not look like a pitching change because she told the home base umpire to maybe wait a little bit. So it looks like maybe just a conversation here for Sam Gress, Lexi Winters, and Chastain Woodard.
Probably the same thing I was talking about earlier, slowing the pace of the game down a little bit. Whenever it gets back on Georgia's side, Chastain Woodard seems to come out and put things back in the Gamecocks' court.
And Chastain Woodard will head back into the Carolina dugout. Sam Gress will remain in the circle for the Gamecocks.
I do wonder how many more innings Gress will remain on the rubber, though.
She's now at 1 2/3 innings, so a total of 8 2/3 innings over the course of 2 days. You got to imagine she's starting to feel a little bit fatigued there in the circle.
Definitely.
As she faces Sarah Gordon, first pitch inside, bit too high. So this will be called ball 1. Sarah Gordon once again 0 for 2 today, has a .354 average on the season with 28 hits and 6 home runs for the Bulldogs. 1-0 pitch, and Gordon makes contact, but it will go foul out into the Carolina bullpen. I think a little bit past it and well out of the concourse. That will even up the count at 1-1.
I would be heads up if you were on that beach volleyball tournament over there.
Absolutely.
Definitely in the splash zone.
1-1 pitch to Gordon. And Gordon makes contact high up into center field. That will be Quincy Lelio out there to make the grab. And in the top of the 5th with no more runs for Georgia. The Gamecocks keep them at 2 runs. Gamecocks still scoreless on the game, however. Now looking to maybe grab some runs here at the bottom of the 5th and get these bats alive a little bit.
Yeah, and that was a great job by Gress. trusting her defense and giving them the chance to make that easy out. Lulio in center field does a great job, and it was no trouble for her to put that one away. Maybe that was the problem she was having with all those balls in the dirt. She was a little bit afraid to let those Georgia hitters hit. And I wonder if that was the conversation between head coach and Winters from behind the plate was trust your defense. Put the ball across the plate and let the Georgia hitters get themselves out instead of you trying to get every single one of them out. Probably, I assume, what that conversation might have been about. And then that's exactly what she did with that one and got herself out of that situation there.
So Randy Rolling still in the circle for Georgia. Started this game and has pitched 4 full innings so far. We'll look and wonder if she's starting to maybe feel any fatigue. We've talked about Bress's fatigue, obviously, but 4 straight innings for Rolling there, getting the start today. And a little bit of a temperature change, as we've mentioned, this humidity coming in and the sun starting to come out and that temperature starting to rise.
Yeah.
Still have a little bit of a breeze up here, but I imagine down on the field they're not quite feeling it as much as we are up here in the box.
Yeah, and judging by our flags out there in center field, the wind has shifted more blowing towards third base than back at the plate. I wonder if that'll provide any assistance for our batters here. Probably not much, but
we'll find out as Natalie Heath comes to the plate to lead off for the Gamecocks in the bottom of the 5th. Designated player is 0-1 today, has a 3.46 average on the season. Another big hitter for the Gamecocks, has 5 home runs, 6 doubles on the season. In her 18 hits, a 750 slug percentage. And we will see what Rolling gives to Heath in this leadoff pitch. A little bit high and inside for ball 1.
I'll be interested to see if the Gamecocks make any of those adjustments I was talking about after their last at-bat, getting on top of the ball rather than popping them up.
Swing and a miss there for Natalie Heath. We mentioned that wide strike zone this entire game, and it looks like Heath is a little bit further away from the plate, maybe to try and have more of a chance at getting some of that contact on those inside balls.
Another one of those adjustments that they need to be taking notes of and trying to apply there.
On the 1-1 count, Heath fouls it behind her to make the count 1-2. Gamecocks down 2-0 here in the bottom of the 5th. No outs and no runners on base for Natalie Heath. Makes contact with that one, but it will roll just foul there on the third base side. Count will remain 1-2. We mentioned Heath not getting a lot of looks in the past several seasons she's been with the Gamecocks. Heath is a redshirt junior, now in her 4th year with the squad, but has played quite a significant role here for the Gamecocks in this new program under Chastain Woodard. In the lineup very often, and we've seen, you know, she's been able to make a lot of contact. 1-2 count heads into the stands there. Count will remain 1-2. So it's definitely a welcome addition, I'm sure, for Chastain Woodard to come into this program and have quite a significant player as Heath to just be able to insert into her lineup. As she makes contact with that one, it will go foul, but quite a lot of distance.
Yeah, if she could have
Lane's
waited just a little bit more on that one, that would have been straight out.
That would have been quite a shot. That would have been home run number 6, but Lane's on the roof of one of the track facilities out here in the athletic village, just beyond that left field wall.
And it seems she's making adjustments. Those are 3 very different foul balls she just hit.
1-2 count in the dirt outside for Randy Rollings. Mentioned she has pitched a lot this game and a lot this season. 60.1 innings pitched heading into the day. 2.55 ERA and a 6-2 record overall with 47 strikeouts. It's a big pitching name for Georgia as Heath delivers that one to the shortstop, who delivers it to first for the out, as Emily Digby out at short, making the grab on the rolling ball. and that will be out number 1 for Carolina.
I think Heath was determined to hit there. That was a bit outside, but she stretched for it. Ended up sending it right to Georgia's shortstop, Emily Digby. Still a great grab and throw by Digby, too, to get the angle on that one and get it over pretty quickly.
Now looks like a pinch hitter for Carolina coming in. Maya Flint, number 31, the freshman out of Rockland, California. Only 6 at-bats so far this season, a .333 average as she has 2 hits and 2 RBIs. First pitch to Flint low for ball number 1. So Flint now comes in with 1 out, and we mentioned some of the pinch running situations of bringing these freshmen in. You know, it is can definitely be the opposite as well for players like Maya Flint, who are more comfortable at the plate but maybe don't necessarily have that speed to, you know, take off the bases, especially in SEC play. So wanting to see if she could maybe come in and get some momentum now with this 1 out here in the bottom of the 5th. Some momentum that the Gamecocks desperately need offensively. Only 1 hit so far this entire game.
Yeah, I think Chastain Woodard is just trying to make anything happen at the plate here for the Gamecocks, bringing in Maya. Like you said, 6 at-bats, not very much for the season, but I think Chastain Woodard is just trying to make something happen out of anything right now.
Absolutely. Clearly a lot of confidence in the freshman.
Oh, for sure.
Now a 3-1 count, and Flint will take first base. It might be that as well, just having her recognize, maybe helping some of the players who are out on the circle kind of realize the zone and how far rolling is going outside of these zones.
Yeah, she definitely had a good eye, was able to wait on those.
It looks like we may have another substitution. We have Chastain Woodard talking to the home plate umpire. We'll not have a pinch hitter for Emily Vinson, the left fielder who's 0 for 1 today. A .182 average overall on the season with 10 hits, 3 RBIs, 1 double. Strike 1 on the first pitch there, right across the middle of the plate.
Yeah, and that's shortstop Shay Anderson, who came in to run for her, who that pinch batter took Shay's spot in the lineup, so she's running for her now.
Vinson makes contact. Is that gone? No, lands just behind the fence, but Vinson will make it to second. Her second double on the season, and there is the momentum the Gamecocks have been looking for all game. The second hit of the game there, given by Emily Vinson, a big double to hopefully open up some things offensively for the Gamecocks. And Shay Anderson will go to third. And now we have a meeting at the circle by head coach Tony Baldwin of the Georgia Bulldogs. He's in his 4th year as head coach. Or excuse me, it won't be Baldwin at the circle. It'll be their pitching coach. But we'll take a minute to talk about Baldwin. He's in his 4th year at Georgia. He spent 9 years there prior as a assistant for the Georgia Bulldogs. Moved around a little bit during that time. It wasn't 9 full seasons and then him coming in. But we're talking about Georgia. We're looking at a very, very young program in the SEC. Tony Baldwin, only the third head coach for the Georgia Bulldogs in program history. So a very young team who's clearly been able to find a lot of success here in a very tough conference. Ranked number 13th in this week's polls, and it's not very easy to do that when you're facing such tough competition in your conference.
Yeah, and I think they were trying to do the same thing that Ashley Chastain Woodard has been doing, is slowing down that momentum on the batters. And you see how integral that is, bringing in that pinch hitter who draws a walk, and now you have 2 runners in scoring position with 1 out. And the game has shifted.
Quincy Lelio now at the plate, that first pitch outside for ball 1. And if you're Georgia and you're coming up, you have runners on second and third and only 1 out to rely on. Quincy Lelio is not the person you want to see at the plate right now.
That is exactly what I was about to say, that Carolina has Quincy Lelio up, who maybe doesn't hit consistent home runs all the time, but she gets on base, and that's what you need right now. You don't need someone, obviously a home run over the fence would be great, but you don't need someone to come out here and try to hit something over the fence and pop it up and give them that easy out and then not be able to move these runners. Lelio should put something on the ground here, I think.
That 2-0 count pitch outside for ball number 3. So maybe another walk in the cards here for Lelio. She already has one walk today as well as a single going 1 for 1. Maybe another walk in the cards for Lelio to get this bases loaded and really open things up offensively for this Carolina team. 3-0 pitch outside once again, and that is exactly what will happen as Lelio takes first base on the walk. So we have 1 out. We got bases loaded. We got no runs so far for Carolina. And now we have a meeting with Tony Baldwin. Could very well be a pitching change here for Georgia as Carly Shelton comes up to the plate.
2 runners on in scoring position. The last thing you want right now is to walk. I mean, it could have been worse. Lelio could have put something on the ground somewhere, like I said, and moved the runners around. But now you have bases loaded for Carly Shelton, who's .349 batting average and 3 home runs on the year. Still not a good situation to be in.
Absolutely. And we will have a pitching change here for Georgia. It is Rachel Gibson, the senior out of Ringgold, Georgia. Currently has an ERA of 1.62 and is 4-1 on the season in 26 innings pitched. 23 strikeouts, 13 walks. Not a lot of appearances so far for Rachel Gibson, but someone who Georgia very much likes to have in their arsenal. She had 13 innings pitched last season. Obviously, well, more than that so far this season. Someone who the Bulldogs are starting to rely on a lot more. And also someone that Carolina will maybe have a little bit of an issue with. Played her first 2 years at Clemson before transferring to the Georgia Bulldogs.
Yeah, and I also noticed that Carolina's third base coach just had a what looked like intense meeting with the base runners. And if I had to guess what she said, it was be smart. We have 1 run. We're not running at the crack of the bat. And earlier we mentioned that ball got
first pitch outside to Carly Shelton for 1-0 count.
Ball got hit to the shortstop, Digby, and and the runner at first base for Carolina was not able to get back into the bag at time. So base runners for Carolina really need to be smart here.
Outside edge of the plate for strike 1 for Carly Shelton. Count now even at 1 apiece. Bases loaded, 1 out for Carolina, who's down 2-0 here in the bottom of the 5th. Shelton makes contact with that one, just slips behind the first baseman's glove. Not able to make the tag in time. Carly Shelton safe at first base and a run across. That is Shay Anderson scoring the first run for Carolina. And the bases will remain loaded with 1 out. Tony Baldwin now back out to meet with his infield.
To meet with the umpire, actually. I knew he would have a few words to say about that one. They're going to take it to the home plate umpire, maybe discuss that a little bit, because it was a close call there.
And it looks like we will have a review upcoming here.
Mike's not working good for the umpires.
New thing here for the SEC is miking up the umpires. We've had mixed success with that here so far. Clearly some sort of technical issue there with the mics. But they will take a look at it there at the SEC Video Center to determine if it was in fact safe. The call is safe. So there needs to be indisputable video evidence in order to overturn this call. So it's very important that the call on the field already was safe. A lot of cheers coming from the Carolina crowd, and looking at it, I think they're cheering that the Georgia first baseman just a little bit above the bag when Shelton came in for the tag there at first.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a close call, but I'm going to say the call on the field was correct, that Shelton got her foot down in the front of that bag. That's what's important, is that she hit the front of that bag. She didn't wait to get towards the back of, and that would have made all the difference with such a close play like this. So good for her for getting her foot down in the front. It looks like she beat it out. It is quite close, but
call will be upheld. So Shelton safe at first. Bases are still loaded with 1 out, but now Carolina has a run across the plate. And it is Ariana Rohde who is up for South Carolina.
That was a good call by first base, umpire Mark Brown. That was close, hard to see, but he was in the right position to see it, and he definitely made the right call on that one.
We talked about Lelio not being someone you want to see at the plate. Ariana Rhodey is definitely someone you don't want to see at the plate if you're Georgia in this situation. A 3.91 average, 5 doubles, leads the team in home runs with 10 on the year so far. A grand slam would do a large number to open up some things for the Gamecocks. 2 balls so far from the new Georgia pitcher, Rachel Gibson.
Not only does she lead South Carolina on home runs, she also leads Georgia on home runs by quite a significant amount. Really not the person you want to see at the plate right now.
Strike 1 there. Kind of on the inside side of the plate, but not necessarily near the edge. Makes the count 2-1. You have 1 out, bases loaded. Carolina now down 2-1. Rhodey takes a swing at that one, and it will go foul well out of the concourse on the first base side. Count now even at 2 apiece. You definitely feel the momentum and the energy in the crowd starting to pick up. Some of these fans not quite so sure how this team was going to fare in this game, especially early, as that one just a little bit high makes the count full at 3-2. And Carolina before this series was on a little bit of a slide. We mentioned that in Oklahoma, not able to take a game from the Sooners there. But then also the midweek loss this past week to Coastal Carolina definitely put some question marks. And that will be a walked-in run, as that's just inside on the edge of the plate, called ball 4, and we are now tied at 2 runs apiece. Bases are still loaded with 1 out. But with that midweek game against Coastal Carolina, it left a lot of question marks heading into this series as to how Carolina would be able to fare against SEC opponents. And so far, tied series with Georgia heading into this game, and now a tied ball game. As Ella Chansey comes up to the plate, high first pitch for ball 1.
Yeah, and that's going to put a little bit of a damper on the Georgia defense here. It's last thing you want is bases loaded and you give a walk. And like I said earlier about Georgia, if you give them something, they're going to, give them an inch, they'll take it a mile. And same thing with this Carolina team. They've got the momentum back on their side now. 2 runs in this inning, and I feel like that's what Carolina likes to do. They like to strike later and strike multiple times in one inning instead of kind of spreading it out throughout the game. So maybe this is that inning for South Carolina.
That second pitch was low and inside for ball 2, and we're going to have yet another pitching change by Tony Baldwin, as Randy Rolling will be coming back into the game. It looks like number 34 is back in the circle. So it looks like Randy Rolling will be coming back into the game for Georgia. So an interesting move there by Tony Baldwin.
Yeah, number 5, Rachel Gibson, didn't stay out there long. Maybe they just needed a break for 34 to Randy Rolling to get her back in her groove and get her off the mound for a minute. The circle, excuse me. And give her some time to breathe. And maybe she's straightened it back up by now. It's a hard position to come into as a pitcher right now. You only have 1 out, bases loaded. Pitcher before you just walk someone in. It's a lot of pressure on her.
So Rolling's first pitch to Chansey will be low for ball 1, right across the middle of the plate, but quite a bit, very, very close to the ground there. So that will be ball 3, makes the count 3-0. And again, as we mentioned, the bases are loaded. You put in another walk, you give Carolina the lead, and that will be a strike there on the inside edge, make the count 3-1. But you have nowhere to put Ella Chansey at this point if you're Georgia. And if you're Randy Rolling, it'll be an interesting decision to see if she tries to pitch her way out of this or rely on the 7 behind her a little bit more. As Chansey sends this one out to right field, it will be caught in the outfield by the right fielder, but it will bring in yet another run for Carolina. I believe that's Quincy Lelio coming into home. And now runners on the corners as the runner at first stays at first, runner at second advances to third. And now Lexi Winters up with 2 outs, runners on the corners, and a 3-2 lead for Carolina.
Yeah, you said you were interested to see if Rolling would let the defense work or if she was going to try to pitch her way out of it. And it seems she chose to let the defense work. And they did their job, but couldn't quite get it back to home in time. But it was far out. It was a little bit before the warning track in right field. It was hard throw to get. She got it back in quickly, that right fielder, Tyler Charlton, but not quite in enough time to stop Lulio from going home.
Winters makes contact with the second pitch. It will go out to center field. The center fielder, Dallas Goodnight, will make the grab very easily to retire the side after Carolina gets 3 across the plate to now take the lead rather, over Georgia. It's now so they entered the bottom of the 5th down 2-0. They now have a 3-2 lead over the Bulldogs as Georgia comes back to the plate here in the top of the 6th.
Yeah, and as I mentioned just a second ago, that was a hard position for Rolling to come back into in the middle of the inning. I don't think she did a terrible job at all getting those easy high fly balls for outs for her defense. But when you have 3 runners on and it's hit that far back and you only have 1 out, somebody's going to go home. That's not really her fault. She was not the one that loaded the bases, but it is your duty to do the best you can from getting everyone from crossing the base, especially when it's the bottom of the 5th inning. And now they have the lead, but again, I don't think she did a bad job with that. She threw the pitches that got the batters out, which is her job. There's not much more she can do after that. It was a hard position to come into in the middle of that inning.
Now we'll see if Sam Gress is able to help the Gamecocks maintain their lead here in the top of the 6th inning. You've mentioned she's been on the circle quite a bit the last 2 days for Carolina. Now has 2 2/3 innings pitched in this game. Had 7 full innings pitched the last game. It was an 8-inning game. She got the start there, was pulled out there when the 8th inning began.
And the Gamecocks have the lead now, but it's not much of a lead. It's 1 run right now, and that can change quickly with this UGA team. So the defense needs to be stout here. Sam Gress, though she probably is very tired, has got to stay up on her game here.
And you think about the scoring so far for Georgia, it's not been a lot of in-the-field play. It's been 2 solo shots getting Georgia their 2 runs on the day. So you're thinking as long as Gress doesn't really overpitch, lets the defense do their thing, the 7 behind her do their thing, you're looking to hopefully stay in a pretty good position here heading out of the top of the 6th.
Yeah, and like you mentioned, both of their runs have come from solo home run shots. All they need is 1 more to tie the game back up. So it's definitely not out of reach for Georgia here.
Jaden Goodwin thinks she might have it, but a little bit too short as the catch is made by Vincent there in left field for out number 1. And that's a good thing, I feel like, if you're Sam Gress, seeing a first pitch out, fly out there in left field, trying to get things done as quickly as possible.
Yeah, without throwing a bunch of pitches and working the count up too far, that's definitely what she's going for, and pressures the hitters to kind of make quicker decisions.
Tyler Ellison at the plate. First pitch from Gress inside. Looked like at that same inside edge spot that Eads has been calling all game, but not making the call. Might have been a little bit too high. It's called ball 1. Ellison's 1 of 2 today with a single. Has an average of 341 on the season. Second pitch from Gress. Inside and high once again for ball 2.
It's hard to tell from this angle, but I almost wondering if she's trying to throw a changeup and it's just flying a little bit, not a changeup, I'm sorry, a rise ball, and it's just flying a little bit too high, but it's very hard to tell from this angle.
2-0 count for Tyler Ellison. Ellison makes contact with it, pops it straight up in the air. Winters makes the call and the grab for out number 2.
Again, Winters very vocal over there. We could hear her from up here. That was an easy one for her to run right out in front of to the plate instead of making her third baseman run all the way from third base, or Sam Gress, who's worked so hard. You want to take as much pressure off of Sam Gress as you can right now, so let her sit back and you take that ball. That was a great job by Winters.
Now Lindy Ray Davis at the plate, 0 for 1 today. Has an average of 250 on the season, the grad student. Gress's first pitch outside and is called strike. So there's that same area we've seen, maybe a little bit too outside for some people's liking, but it's been very well consistently called this entire game for both sides. Gress has for sure taken advantage of that spot today. 0-1 pitch. Outside once again, a little bit too low, I believe, called ball 1.
I can't help but notice how far back in the box Lindy Ray Davis is here. Her foot is completely over, on top of that white line.
1-1 pitch. Low and inside for ball number, or outside rather, for ball number 2. So a 2-1 count with 2 outs and no runners on for Georgia. Now down for the first time this game with a 3-2 deficit to the Gamecocks. Pitch outside and low for ball 3. Again, looks like Gress just still trying to target that same spot there on the outside, but just not quite getting. Last batter, it was getting a little bit too high. Now it seems like she's getting a little bit too low. It's the 3-1 pitch. And it's called strike 2. Davis began to move to first. It was a little bit more over the plate, a little bit less outside on that edge. Got a good chunk of the plate. Davis might have thought it was a little bit too low again, but called strike number 2 by Susan Eads, and now the count is at 3-2. Gress's pitch, and Davis will foul it off on the third base side.
You mentioned that Davis immediately threw her bat down and tried to take her walk to first base. I was wondering when that was going to stop working for these batters today. I've seen that quite a lot on both sides, not only from Georgia but from Carolina as well. I believe Ariana Rhodey did it one time, where they're really selling what they want that pitch to be to the home plate umpire. They know what they think it is, and they're trying to sell that as much as possible, which is a great job by them, but I was wondering when that was maybe going to have to stop.
Davis fouls it off once again. Count remains 3-2 with 2 outs. A lot of energy coming in now that the Gamecocks have the lead here at Carolina Softball Stadium at Beckham Field.
And Davis was quite ahead in the count, but now she's really battling with these foul balls to stay in it.
Gress's pitch. Davis makes contact right to third base. She's unable to make the grab, and the throw is just off of first for Ariana Rhodey. Catch attempt by Ella Chansey there at third base was just not able to haul it in. So now a runner at first for the Bulldogs with 2 outs.
And that must have been a hard hit ball right down the third base line there, because it hit Chansey's glove, but it might have hit her right in the palm of her glove there and just bounced right out. So definitely a hard hit ball from her there. It looks like we're going to have a pinch runner come in,
Yes,
and
we have a
Chastain Woodard will head to the circle.
The pinch runner for Georgia now at first is Paisley Allen, the freshman out of Louisville, Texas. Another Georgia Bulldog named to the D100 freshman watch list by D1 Softball and the Softball America freshman watch list. She was a member of the U.S. U18 national team this past summer and was part of the team that helped the U.S. get their bid to the 2025 Softball World Cup. So big pick up for Georgia there as a freshman, and Coach Chastain Woodard talking with Winters and Gress there in the circle. She will come back, and Gress will remain in the circle.
I mean, we can't say it enough. Gress has been doing a great job for this Carolina team these past 2 games, really this season, but she's really showing her leadership here and putting it all out there for the Gamecocks.
You got to imagine Coach Chastain Woodard being extremely relieved when she heard Gress would be following her here to Carolina.
For sure.
I mean, she's such an asset to have here in the circle. Now facing Marissa Miller. First pitch inside, strike 1.
That same
on that
pitch
inside edge of the plate. Marissa Miller doing a very good job today at the plate. 2 for 2 with a single and one of those solo shots we mentioned for Georgia. She had the one in the 4th inning. Or excuse me, the one in the 3rd inning, rather. The second pitch in that same position, inside edge of the plate, strike number 2.
Miller is standing quite far off the plate as well. I wonder if she's trying to make that inside pitch work for her and not just for Gress.
Gress' 0-2 count, and Miller will make contact with it out to the left field side, and it will drop Vincent is able to scoop it up before the runner at first advances any farther than second. So now runners at 1 and 2 for Georgia as Taya Charlton comes up to the plate.
That was not a very well hit ball, but it's the ball that as an outfielder and as a middle infielder you hate. It's right in that in-between area where it's hard for each of you, the outfielder to get in quick enough and the middle infielder to turn back and out quick enough. Again, not a hard hit ball, but a really hard placement for the South Carolina defense here.
And Georgia will bring in another pinch runner there at first base. It'll be number 9, Precious Bross, out of Columbia, South Carolina. Went to Irmo High School before heading over to the Georgia Bulldogs. She's listed as a infielder for the Bulldogs. Taya Charlton now up at the plate, 0 for 1 today with a strikeout and a walk. Gress with 2 outs looks to retire the side for the Gamecocks. First pitch a little bit low for ball 1.
Though there are two runners on right now, I don't think there's too much panic for Sam Gress with 2 outs, and the defense has been working around her, not as much this inning, but very well the last few innings. So
pitch there on the inside edge for strike 1. Count now 1-1 for Taya Charlton.
I don't think it's time for her to worry quite yet.
One count inside and low for ball 2. Taya Charlton, yet another Bulldog named to the D100 freshman watch list by D1 Softball. She was a state champion and an all-state selection there at her high school, Amherst County High School, out in Lynchburg, Virginia. 2-1 pitch from Gress. Charlton will foul it back into the backstop to even out the count at 2 apiece. So we have 2 balls, 2 strikes, 2 outs. Georgia currently with 2 runs.
Crowd getting quite fired up here.
Absolutely. You'd
on
like
this Columbia Sunday.
Sure, they would love to see a strikeout here from Gress to retire the side.
For sure.
Gress's pitch. And Carlton swings at it and misses, and that is exactly what the crowd here at Carolina Softball Stadium will get. A strikeout to retire the top of the 6th for Carolina. So
Great
the
job
Gamecocks
holding them off in that inning. I'm sure that's probably what you're about
Yeah.
to say. You know, like I said, we only have a one-run lead. There's not too much leeway to give here, and they really didn't give the leeway, even though we did have those 2 hits that could have been probably prevented, but still didn't let it get too far away from the Gamecocks. And Sam Gress, can't stop talking about her enough. I mean, she did a great job, and like I said, 2 runners on base, and if you give up 1 run, you're tied. But I don't think she was panicking. I think she knew what she had to do, and she did exactly that by putting that runner out.
And I mean, Sam Gress, what a trooper for this Carolina team.
Absolutely.
We can't mention it enough times. I think she's now at 9 2/3 innings pitched in the last 2 days for the Gamecocks. I mean, that's got to take a toll on you physically, not only physically, but mentally as well, to face this many batters. And she's just done a great job keeping her cool, keeping her composure, and just doing what she needs to do to help her defense out.
And it's not only a testament to her longevity, but also to her skill that the Georgia offense has not caught up to her yet quite as well. I mean, they did have that 1 home run off of her, but nothing significant really. She's been getting around them pretty good.
So Rollings back in the circle for Georgia. Started this game and then came out for a little bit that allowed Carolina to tie up the game at 2-2, and then came back, allowed 1 more run for the Gamecocks before the ending of the 5th inning there. Now at the bottom of the 6th, Abigail Knight up to bat. 0 for 2 on the day as we get the Gamecocks chant beginning here at Beckham Field. Quite a lot of energy in this stadium now, as you have a 3-2 lead, and now you're back up at the plate to try and extend that lead.
The sun's kind of tucked behind the clouds now. It's a nice mild evening for the Gamecocks to settle into.
First pitch low and inside for ball 1. We've mentioned Gress's longevity Rollings had quite a bit of longevity there heading into the 5th inning, then had to step out for one reason or another. Could have been a coaching decision, could have been a pitching decision as well. That one low again for ball 2. But had to take a little bit of a rest. That brought in Rachel Gibson into the circle, which then allowed Carolina to get their first 2 out of 3 runs in the 5th. But now Rollings back into the plate, and though she just went, just extended the count to 3-0 with those low inside balls, definitely a lot of longevity for her as well in the Georgia pitching staff so far in this game.
Yeah.
Outside edge of the plate clipped for strike number 1. Makes the count 3-1 now for Abigail Knight. 6-year transfer from Charlotte, one of the 6 Gamecocks on this roster to follow Coach Chastain. And what a hit by Knight to just pop right in front of the Georgia second baseman. That's number, number 4, Tyler Ellison there. Or maybe not, might have been an offensive change. Looks like 24 Paisley Allen now there at second. But getting a line drive to just pop right in front of her and then bounce right over the glove there of Paisley.
She kind of took a step back and waited on that ball a little bit. You got to get on top of that bounce so you can tell where it's going to bounce to, so it really doesn't bounce. You virtually stop that bounce by getting right on top of it. But she kind of pulled back and waited on it, and it did not pop her way. And then also the left fielder there seemed to lose her footing a little bit trying to get to the ball. Maybe got caught sitting on her heels.
First pitch to Natalie Heath low, and then the next one right over the middle of the plate to make the count 1-1. I did notice there are new patches of grass out in the outfield as well. We started noticing some dead spots just of where the outfielders have been standing so far this season, as that will get hit foul by Natalie Heath down the third base side, makes the count 1-2. But now new patches of grass laid out to help prevent those dead spots. Maybe something with the seam, or maybe that new grass being a little bit wetter than the old grass, something causing the left fielder out there to lose her footing. That's Jaden Goodwin.
Yeah.
1-2 count. Heath fouls it back behind her and out of the concourse, keeping the count at 1-2.
That was quite a nice swing, though. She got a good bit of that. If she would have been just a little bit more on top of it instead of she was a little bit too under it, that might have been a really good hit for the Gamecocks here. But again, the Gamecocks need to stop popping so much stuff up. I mean, again, a runner on base, you don't need to pop everything up and give Georgia the easy outs.
That is a strikeout for Natalie Heath, and the first out for the Gamecocks so far here in the bottom of the 6th. So now 1 out, 1 runner on first, and a 3-2 lead for South Carolina as Shay Anderson comes up to the plate.
I can see the urgency for Carolina now. Heath really wanted that ball. It was quite a bit outside in the left-hander's batting box, but she really wanted to get that hit.
First pitch swing appealed to first base. The umpire out there says she did not go. Makes the count 1-0. Low pitch there for ball number 2. Shay Anderson's a freshman out of Moore Park, California. She was rated the number 43 player by Extra Inning Softball in this year's freshman recruiting class. So big top 50 pickup for Carolina. She makes contact with this pitch. It'll go foul into the concourse there on the first base side.
Like I said, we've seen a lot of foul balls from the Gamecocks this game. I'd really like to see someone straighten something out and get a pretty solid hit. We are winning. I mean, the Gamecocks are now winning with 1 run, but they're still behind in hits. UGA has 6 hits, and the Gamecocks still only have 4 on the board here.
2-1 pitch. Anderson lines it right to third. Looks like it might have taken a hop as they look to turn the double play. The out was grabbed at second, but the call of Anderson at first is safe. So she is now safe at first. So runner still at first, but now with 2 outs for the Gamecocks. As Natalie Heath called out at second. Now Emily Vinson at the plate. Had the double after the pinch hitter walk that really opened things up for Carolina last inning. That first pitch low outside and in the dirt for ball one.
Yeah, it would be big if she could do just about that same thing here.
Added yet another double to the Gamecocks tally of having the most doubles in the NCAA so far this season. Is that next pitch very high for ball two. High end over the middle of the plate. So 2-0 count, 2 outs, runner at first. Carolina in the lead, 3-2 over Georgia. Pitch number 3 in the dirt will be ball number 3.
That was a great job by Georgia's catcher, Marissa Miller, keeping that in front of her. That could have easily put a runner in scoring position, that wild pitch there, but she got down and blocked that up with her body.
Strike there by Rowling, cutting across the inside portion of the plate. Makes the count now 3-1. We mentioned Vincent is a transfer from Longwood, originally from Elgin, South Carolina. As Anderson will go to second, and the leap just over the head of the shortstop there. That looks like that's number 22, Emily Digby, still out at shortstop. But just a throw from, I believe it's Miller. Yeah, Marissa Miller there from catcher, just way over the head of Digby. Now the 3-2 count. Vincent makes contact. It'll be popped out into center field and grabbed for the third out. But a really aggressive shot there by Shea Anderson to try and steal second, causing Digby there to maybe lose a bit of her footing and just not quite be able to reel in that ball.
Well, it was quite a bit over her head, which was the same thing we saw from catcher Marissa Miller the first time somebody tried to steal at second base. And thank goodness the second baseman for Georgia was there behind her to catch that ball. But again, if something like that were to get past an infielder, it can cause a lot of bleeding. It's very important that they keep something like that in front of them, and she pulls that ball down a little bit more. She's got a great arm. She gets it there quick, but a little bit too high.
So we're now heading into the top of the 7th. The Gamecocks now 3 outs away from grabbing their first SEC Series win. And who do we see out in the circle? It's still Sam Gress, number 9. So she'll be entering her 4th inning of this game. She's pitched three and 2/3 innings already, 10 and 2/3 innings over the last 2 days.
Yeah.
Incredible longevity from Sam Gress.
I mean, hey, if she's doing her job and the Bulldogs can't get her number, then why take her out? She's doing exactly what Chastain Woodard wants her to do, so she's going to hopefully finish off the game here. We'll see if she makes it all the way through this inning, and if we don't have another inning, if Georgia gets a score here.
So Gress came into this ball game during the 3rd inning in relief of starting pitcher Jory Hurd for the Gamecocks. And she has not been pulled out since, allowing 3 hits, just 1 run on that 1 solo shot, has 4 strikeouts and 1 walk.
Yeah, I mean, she's done a great job for this team yesterday, and this whole season. She's absolutely a leader for them.
So the Georgia Bulldogs will begin with a pinch hitter. It's freshman Molly Mitchell out of Austin, Texas, in her first ever at-bat.
Wow.
Interesting decision to have her first at-bat be in this moment as Sam Gress's first pitch. She does make contact with it right to the third baseman. That is Ella Chansey who makes the throw to first for out number 1.
And that was something we haven't seen this game. She actually was a slapper. She just slap hit that. And she didn't get enough bounce out of the ball. When you're slapping the ball like that and you're trying to chop it down, you really want to get the bounce out of the ground to mess up the defense a little bit. But like we said, pretty much the whole field is dried out by now, besides that place right there in front of home plate. So she really didn't get much bounce out of that ball, and it just easily went right to number 2 at third base, and she retired her.
Mua Williams now at the plate, one of the 2 home run hitters for Georgia. That first pitch was fouled off behind her, make the count 0-1. She's 1 for 2 on the day, obviously with that home run, has a 265 average on the year. And it is a strike as she just put that barrel a little bit too far in front of the plate, and that will be called a strike. Really swung at it and got behind the plate before the ball was even close to being there. It's just an interesting swing by Williams, and same thing again as she is punched out. Strikeout number 5 for Sam Gress on the day.
Seems like Gress got her on the changeup, really threw off her timing there, and she was way early and had to second guess her every move on that swing.
So now with 2 outs, Georgia brings up the top of their lineup with Dallas Goodnight. She's 0 for 3 today with a strikeout as the Gamecocks look to put this game away. And Goodnight makes contact with it, pops it up to left field. Oh, and the drop by Emily Vincent just at the edge of the infield. Goodnight able to make it to second safely. But Vincent and the, looks like the shortstop, Anderson, maybe not. It might be third baseman Ella Chansey, both kind of right at that same spot. You could tell the ball was going to Vincent, but Vincent just not able to reel in that grab. Drops it, and it is a costly error for the Gamecocks, their first of the game, that allows Goodnight to go to second when you only have a 1-run lead and you're 1 out away from putting this game away.
Yeah, and I've been praising the Gamecocks this whole game for their communication, and they did not have the communication there. The left fielder and the third baseman did not know who was getting that ball. It wasn't far into the outfield, so I would say that the third baseman had a chance at it, but the outfielder is always going to have priority because they're coming in, and the infielders have to go out. So if the left fielder, was it, I believe, Ella Chansey?
Emily Vincent.
Emily Vincent, sorry. Emily Vincent has priority over that ball, and if she is calling it, the third baseman or shortstop, whoever it is, has to peel off, has to peel away, and that was a costly error for them. And not to mention, Dallas Goodnight now on second base in scoring position. She's fast. She can make it around the bases pretty quick. It's not really someone you want to have in scoring position when you're up 1 run.
It's now Sam Gress facing Sarah Gordon, and Gordon will make contact out into center field. Lelio makes the grab, and that's game. The Gamecocks take their first SEC Series win of the season, 2-1 over the University of Georgia today with this 3-2 victory here on this Sunday. Just great hitting there in the 5th inning. Great job bringing in the pinch hitter by Chastain to really open things up and show the players where the zone really is for the Georgia pitching staff. And then a great job longevity-wise by Sam Gress to just keep this game in play for the Gamecocks and able to get them to win.
Yeah, we'll talk about Sam Gress one more time because, oh my gosh, she did a great job for them this game and last game, and you have to give her credit for the longevity in the circle here, and she just did an amazing job. She's definitely a leader for this team, and also with that ball that they just missed that allowed Dallas Goodnight to get on second base, when your pitcher has been working so hard in the circle, you have to help her out. You have to help her out and get those outs, and that's exactly what Lelio just did in center field. And like I said, they didn't have the communication over in left field, but Lelio clearly was very vocal about that play, made sure she had that one and that the second baseman and the shortstop peeled off of it, so she was able to end the game and put them away. It's a really great job by Sam Gress and the Carolina defense today. A few hiccups, but they've got that first SEC Series win under their belt now. I think it's going to be a big deal for the Gamecocks, and hopefully they'll put that midweek game with Coastal Carolina behind them, even that series with Oklahoma behind them, and they'll start moving on because they started off the season 20-0.
Yes.
It's the best start they've had in a very, very long time. So
tied for their best in program history.
Yeah,
since 1976.
Best they've had ever.
Yes.
So I hope that they can get back to that team that wasn't taking losses easily, and They do like to make it interesting for us, though. They keep it close pretty much every time, but it makes for a good team and good game. And I think they're pretty scrappy. They always manage to at least battle to the end. Even like against Oklahoma, they didn't come out on top, but they never stopped battling. And this team continues to show us that they're not going to stop battling, and they're in it. They're someone to watch out for this year for sure.
Absolutely. Well, the Gamecocks rebound here in SEC play. They'll advance to 2-4 in the SEC, 22-5 overall on the season. They'll take a break from SEC play next weekend as they face Texas Tech, but then right back into the gauntlet that is the SEC softball in the weekend after that. So that will do it for our broadcast here. Thank you guys for watching this broadcast of SGTV Carolina softball. I'm Ryan Stinson alongside Dakota Morris and all of our crew here at SGTV. We thank you for tuning in, and we will see you for our next softball broadcast.